8,000 plus Michiganders woke up on January 31st, 2024, without a legal address. Everyone logged by HUD's statewide point-in-time count. In Detroit alone, the number of people bedding down outside doubled in less than a decade, from 151 in 2015 to 305 today. Even more gut-punching, 455 children were found homeless that same night, a 46% spike in 12 months. While headlines trumpet a Michigan comeback, millions of relief dollars leak into programs that barely stem the tide, some siphoned off by outright fraud. A $4 million shelter diversion test quietly rolled out this year. Critics call it a Band-Aid. And Detroit's own housing nonprofit was rocked by a deed theft indictment that cost families their homes. Is the recovery story built on a house of cards? Or can the Great Lakes state still turn the page? Statewide, 8,123 people lacked stable shelter on that frost-bitten January night. About 3,000 of them literally on streets, in cars, or abandoned buildings. Detroit magnifies the crisis. 1,700 residents are homeless, with that hard count of 305 unsheltered every evening. Advocates warn the real figure is double once you add a couch-surfing teens and families parked behind gas stations. Children make up the fastest-growing slice, 455 in the city, many under 10. In February, 2 siblings froze in a minivan on the east side, forcing round-the-clock outreach patrols. How did we let the most vulnerable slip through? Families topped the lists. More than 1,200 Michigan households with kids asked for emergency shelter in 2024. Seniors riding fixed Social Security checks aren't far behind. Statewide, 10.6% of older adults now live below the poverty line, one furnace repair away from eviction. Veterans still slip between programs. James, a 45-year-old Marine in Muskegon, slept in a park until a tiny VA voucher opened. Domestic violence survivors face the cruelest crossroads. Ann Arbor shelters say 1 in 4 homeless women fled abuse. Even a steady paycheck can't outrun Michigan's rent spiral. Take Grand Rapids. Median rent jumped more than 7% last year, while the state minimum wage just inched up to $12.48 an hour. Barely half the income a renter needs to keep a simple one-bedroom afloat. Affordable unit shortages have narrowed from 190,000 to 141,000, but that gap still exceeds the entire housing stock of a mid-sized county. Over a quarter of Michigan tenants now spend 50% or more of their income on shelter, a razor's edge where one surprise medical bill or blown transmission tips straight into eviction. Voucher waitlists? Closed for years. Helpline data shows clients waiting up to 24 months for rental aid. So, where's the safety net? Sometimes locked inside somebody else's bank account. That $4 million diversion pilot is helping families stay housed with one-time grants for rent, utilities, or a bus ticket to safer relatives. Yet it reaches only 12 communities in a state of 10 million people. Meanwhile, Detroit prosecutors allege a local nonprofit had forged deeds to steal homes from tax-delinquent owners, flipping them for profit. Even Lansing's political class isn't immune. Former House Speaker Lee Chatfield now faces trial for siphoning charitable funds meant for foster youth and housing outreach. Each scandal widens the trust deficit, and without trust, even strong policies stall. Can new laws patch what greed tore? In 2025, Michigan joined a handful of states banning source-of-income discrimination. Landlords can no longer reject tenants just because they pay rent with vouchers, SSI, or veterans' benefits. Warren put real teeth behind it, finding repeat violators and letting renters sue. Sounds game-changing, except fewer than 1 in 4 eligible households ever receives a voucher, thanks to multi-year waitlists and federal caps. Rules on paper help, but the market still runs out of units long before the list runs out of names. So communities are hacking their own fixes, often on a shoestring. In Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti, a brand-new community land trust snapped up vacant lots and set permanent below-market prices for its first 22 homes, locking affordability for generations. Dearborn nonprofits now use real-time mobile apps tied to 211 data to steer users to the nearest open bed or food pantry before nightfall. University of Michigan policy labs are piloting predictive maps that flag eviction risk hotspots a month in advance, giving caseworkers time to intervene. And up north in Marquette, a dozen tiny homes opened this spring, offering families 90-day stays with on-site counseling. Yet all of it remains patchwork compared with solutions proven overseas. Finland slashed chronic homelessness nearly 70% since 2008 by guaranteeing permanent apartments first, then wrapping services around tenants. Seattle shows the flip side. Billions spent, 11,000 still unsheltered because housing supply lags demand. Michigan hovers between those poles, piloting mini-housing-first projects, but still leaning heavily on shelters. So which road will the Great Lakes state choose? Short-term beds or front-door keys? The answer decides whether its comeback headline ever matches street-level reality. Scale what works. Take the diversion pilot statewide. One rent check today is cheaper than a shelter cot for months. Build faster and cheaper. Expedite zoning on public land. Prefabricate modular units and treat 141,000 missing homes as critical infrastructure. Guard every dollar. Create an independent audit board for homelessness spending. Publish dashboards so taxpayers can follow each grant in real time. Use tech wisely. Open source eviction risk maps and vacancy dashboards to target aid before crises explode. Change the story. Launch a stigma-busting campaign so homeless equals neighbor, not nuisance. Because Michigan's comeback isn't real until every kid, yes, the 455 who slept in shelters this year, has a pillow of their own. The Great Lakes still sparkle, Motown still thumps, and new factories still rise. But beneath the headline buzz, thousands of lives dangle over the same thin ledge. The good news? Fixes exist. We've seen them in Finland's blank check housing, in Dearborn's pocket-sized apps, in James the veteran mentoring newcomers once he finally got a key. So here's the question. Share this story, comment with one bold idea, and subscribe for follow-ups on audits, pilots, and, hopefully, victories. Because the real revival of Michigan won't be measured in ribbon cuttings or quarterly GDP. It'll be counted in pillows on children's beds, locks on veterans' doors, and mornings where Maria wakes up not in a borrowed car, but a home she can finally call her own. Michigan's next chapter starts when we write it together. Ready?